Hey, what's up guys? It's GG Licorice here, back with another champion guide, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to play Sejuani in the top lane.
Fight or make room for those who will.
Sejuani is just good top because she does a lot of damage. Like, she's a tank, and she does fall off a little bit in the later parts of the game, but in like early to mid game, she's like super strong, does a ton of damage. You can win your lane really easily and like kind of carry the game, which is not super common with tanks. You're playing a tank, but you can still kill people. That's like the whole idea.
And Licorice, roughly out of mana, eats biscuits for a bit more, but Fudge, I mean, in a pretty Ignite! Wait! Fudge! He has Ignite!
Sejuani runes. I think you go Grasp in every single lane. You go Demolish because Font of Life and Shield Bash. I mean, you don't have a shield, so Shield Bash is useless, and Font of Life isn't very good. Most of the time you're going to end up going Second Wind, but you can go Bone Plating depending on the matchup. Like, it's really just like if they have Burst or not. I think like the only champion I can think of right now that you take Bone Plating into is Renekton, but there's probably a couple others. For the most part, you just take Second Wind. And then in the last tree, you're either going Overgrowth or Unflinching. Most of the time you go Unflinching, but if they like don't have a lot of tenacity, then you can go Overgrowth. You'll be a little stronger late game, but I don't think it like is really that important. Secondary, you're gonna go Biscuits and Cosmic. The reason you go Cosmic is because, I mean, it's just good to lower your TP cooldown and also Ignite, which you take most of the time. But also you want to build boots early in a lot of your matchups because it helps you hit your W. So you don't want to take free boots because then you can't build them. You just go Cosmic and Biscuits. And then you go attack speed, and then you usually just go double MR or double armor, depending on what you're playing against. So summoner spells, you can pretty much always take TP Ignite. I mean, you want TP on the champion always, and then the choice is between either taking Flash or Ignite. Flash makes you safer, Ignite gives you more kill pressure. In solo queue, I would take Ignite every game, no matter what. But, I mean, it just depends on playstyle too. Like, if you just want to like die less, because you feel like you're dying to a lot of ganks, then you can take Flash instead, and it's fine, but Ignite gives you a lot more threat in lane, so I like Ignite most of the time. Starting build. So you start Doran Shield, always. There's like not really a reason to start anything else because you don't have a lot of like AD ratios or anything. So you just start Doran Shield every game. So you want some sort of mana is kind of the thing. So if they have a lot of AD and Frozen Heart is going to be really high value, then you can rush Frozen Heart with like maybe like a Ruby Crystal or two. You can even go full Bammies into Frozen Heart. Basically, like, you're going a Bammies item. Like, you're either going Frostfire. You can go Sunfire if you're really fed, but usually it's just Frostfire. And then you need mana. So you can buy tier early if they don't have a lot of AD. And then early boots, Ionian boots are really good in lane. Frostfire, and then you just kind of build tank items after that, like whatever looks the best in the game. Like if I have Frozen Heart, I would get an MR item. Force of Nature is probably the best, and then after this, you just like kind of build whatever. You max W first. Yeah, you max W first, and then Q, and then E last. Because when you put points in E, all it does is it just adds damage. So it's less important than like getting the cooldown shorter on the Q. And then W is like kind of your main laning spell, so you always max that first. Sedge is kind of good into everything. I mean, there's a couple matchups that are hard, like Aatrox can be kind of hard. Renekton can be difficult if you're against a really good player, but for the most part, like, you can win all your matchups. Sedge is just like, it's mostly good to pick if like your team needs a tank, and also if you have a lot of melees, then you're gonna have a really strong fight at the Rift Herald because your teammates can also proc your E passive with their auto attacks. So if you have a bunch of melees, then like it's really easy to just stun the enemy team a lot and win the fight really easily. I would not pick her into Vayne top. I mean, Vayne top just sucks for pretty much everything. So hopefully you're just not playing against Vayne top. She does have some more difficult matchups, but like nothing is unplayable. Like Aatrox is like one of the common counters in pro, and you can still like kill Aatrox early, and you can pretty much like go even with him until, I don't know, like 16, 17 minutes. And then like at that point, he might start to bully you out, but it's like most of our matchups are fine. And you're gonna be strong in the early game and you just like kind of want to find your moments. I guess the only thing I would say is she is less strong when your team doesn't have a lot of melees. So if you have like a full ranged comp, you probably would want to pick something else instead. Cool, so in lane, most of the time you start Q, your whole trade pattern is pretty much that you like stack up grasp and then you just Q auto and run away. That's like pretty much it. You can also just like auto them with grasp whenever you have it up. But for the most part, you just take really short trades early. You're not super strong. Like you're not going to be able to win all ins until like level 3 for the most part. So you kind of just like poke them with like Q auto and your W. Yeah, you start Q. Sometimes you can start, or sometimes you can go E second if they're fighting you a lot. It does give you a fair amount of damage that can like surprise people sometimes. But usually you'll just go W, and then you'll go E at level 3, and then once you're level 3, you're actually pretty strong and like an all-in. Like you can proc your passive and then run away. And like if they're low, then you can obviously like ignite them and kill them. But for the most part, your damage is like, it's kind of bursty. It's like once you use your spells, you like your autos don't really do anything because your E also has a cooldown. So it's like I'll hit this dummy here. You can like W and then Q auto. And then once you proc this E, it's like, you did a lot of damage, but if I just like stand here, I'm just like autoing it and I don't really do anything for a while. So usually you just run away afterwards. I also want to touch on like in lane, you're kind of weak early, but your W gets a lot stronger when you put more points in it. So like level 1, 2, you're like not super strong. Level 3, you're okay, but like level 5, 6, and 7, you start getting like really, really strong and you can start to bully people pretty hard. So that's like probably her strongest point in the lane phase. And you don't really need to know all-in timers super well because you can just kind of poke people with W with just like Ionian boots. It's like a pretty short cooldown. It's like quite strong. In the Sejuani, you're pretty much never going to be split pushing. Your 1v1 does get less strong as the game goes on. So generally you're going to lose to most people in later stages. You're going to want to be playing with your team, and the way you play team fights is mostly just going to depend on how strong your team is. Because like if your team is stronger than theirs, then you can just like play frontline and just engage and go in, like QR forward and just like start a fight. If your team's weaker, then you might want to be looking for angles like to find the AD carry on a flank or something, and like assassinate them or something if you don't think you're gonna win like a regular team fight. But you're still like playing with your team kind of no matter what you're doing later in the game. I mean, your roams aren't bad, but like for the most part, you're just gonna be laning. You have a lot of kill threat, especially at level 6, because your ult can also proc your E passive and do the damage. So if you get 4 stacks, you can E ult and it does a lot of damage. And if you auto after, you'll do like 20% max health magic damage from your passive plus all the base damage. So you can pretty much one-shot people at level 6 with ignite if you get the 4 stacks ult ignite off. You want to team fight early because you're really strong. And in team fights, like especially in early game, you mostly just go forward and go in because you're just like the front line. You'll just like send it. I mean, you mostly just engage. Your disengage as Sedge isn't actually that good because your ult is just like, it's single target, only hits one person. And apart from that, you have your Q. And once you like, if you like RQ in, you're in there. So there's like not really much for you to do after that. So you generally want to be engaging first and then just fighting them. Like, I mean, obviously there's scenarios where like you're not going to be engaging first because that's just how it goes. But like, you pretty much just like, once there's a fight, you just like get in there and start hitting people. The most like common combo is you just QR forward, and then it's much harder for them to react to it than if you just like throw your R, because it's like much more obvious. You can also like Q one way and ult the other way. So that can like catch people off guard. But for the most part, at least early team fights, you just go forward. Once you get to later game, like you are still the frontliner, but like you can also be looking for like angles on the AD carry from the side, because like if you can stun a priority target, then that's obviously really good. So you're not always going to be necessarily frontlining in late game, but Like for sure in early mid game, you kind of just like go forward and hit the first person who hits you. Generally, you're just like poking them with W. If you're strong and winning the lane, you can like WQ. Oh, this one already hit stacks. But if you, I'm just gonna wait a sec here. If you WQ auto, you instantly put them at 3 stacks. So if you're against someone and they can't really fight back, because if they fight you at all, you'll just auto them one more time, E them and run away. And you always want to auto after E as well, because that's where all the damage comes from. You actually have to proc the stun. I think it's on your passive. Yeah, it does 10% max health damage. So that's where a lot of your damage comes from. So you E auto and then you just run away. But mainly you're just like, you can Q auto people, you just W them to poke them. And if you're looking for more of an all-in, you can like WQ forward, get 3 stacks instantly. I actually fucked it up there. And then you get the 4th stack and E auto. I mean, the WQ combo, it's harder. It's like deceptively hard. So that would be the like main thing that I would say you should practice if you're gonna play a top lane. Because if you can hit your WQs, then like it's really, really strong in the lane. Apart from that, it's kind of just knowing that your passive, like the stun, can get procced by any of your other spells. Like you can EW, and that'll do the max health true damage. You can also, you can proc it with your ult, and it also gives you another one. So you want to break that as well. So you could like, I guess you could like ERW if you can't get in there, and that'll do a lot of damage. And then it's just like the QR. You can like fake people out with that as well. And your R is quite forgiving with like the range it has. It's quite a wide skill shot, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Just kind of throw it at them. Your Q goes over most walls. It's not going to go over like I think you can get over this wall. I don't actually know. I'm sure you can. Yeah, you can get over this wall. Like the really thick walls, you can only go like part way through. Like here, you can do that, but you can't do like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do like that. But it's a pretty long dash. I don't think you can get through this wall either, but you might be able to get through like this part of it. So it is like a pretty long dash. Apart from that, you do actually have a pretty easy time taking jungle camps. Not like super early, but like I'd say after like level 7, it gets pretty easy. Because I mean, she's originally a jungler, so she does do it pretty well. So if you have free time, you can always take jungle camps. And like you have good AoE, so you can kind of take any of the camps in the game. Whereas I think other champions are kind of limited to what camps are good for them. But yeah, I think that's kind of about it. I think like the main thing I would say is just like play really aggressive in lane, because I think you can. Like early, just like you can just like Q in every time you have grasp up and Q up and then walk away. And just like she does a surprising amount of damage, so like you can often just kill people. And like I think you should play around that. She's like not as strong as a lot of other tanks are in like really late game. Like Ornn is like gonna be like a lot tankier than you and probably also do more damage. So it's kind of like the whole point of the pick is to play aggressive and like carry the early game for your team. So that's what you kind of want to do. It's just strong. It's kind of a pro specific pick and no one really plays it. No one plays against it. So I think if you practice it and get good at it, you can get a lot of free LP, just because people are going to be really surprised by how much damage you do. And like, you're just like a tank, and tanks are always, I think they always have higher win rates in solo queue just because people don't like playing them and they're like useful. So I think she can be really, really good for climbing if you want to put in the time to learn her. And I don't think she's super difficult either. So I think it's like a really solid champ to climb the ladder. So that was my Sejuani top lane guide. I hope you guys all learned something, and I hope that it'll be useful, and I hope that like some of you guys can play it and get some LP. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.